I hope everyone's had a good week. Everything went well for you, and yeah, it's just the end of a long week, personally for me. But I hope everyone also had really a good week. Today we're going to be looking at watershed analysis using Autodesk Infraworks, something that's not really used much, or people are not aware of that much using Infraworks. It's a really cool tool. It makes it easy, especially if you're doing, for example, a bridge design, or you're trying to find a contributing area, a catchment area for your design, and then sizing according to that. It's really very, very simple to use, and I hope today is going to be very, very effective for all those who are turned in. We have a great attendance, 100%, so I'm really chuffed about that. Thank you. And again, we host these webinars every week, me being in infrastructure and mining. If you don't know who I am, my name is Shoaib Yunus. I'm a BIM specialist for mining and civil infrastructure for Baker Baines, and I'll be hosting a lot of webinars in those spectrums. So roads, structures, mining, reality capture, drones, all of those things in those fraternity, all the fun stuff, the hot topics at the moment. I'm going to be covering them as the weeks or as the months go proceed. So if you have any cool topics or anything that's kind of bugging you or you want clarification on, I will have my email address up at the end of the presentation. And then from there, you can drop me and then we can, probably host them as one of the topics for the future. So really like interacting with everyone. So please keep that open. And again, this is a very light topic for Fridays. I always have my sessions on the Fridays. It's good to learn because, again, we are all more relaxed. And of course, it's a happy Friday. So let's get on with the actual presentation. So in terms of the agenda, this is exactly what we're going to be looking at. For those that have been attending my webinars throughout the years, you'll see that the setup is actually the same in terms of structure. I always like to cover what the software is or a little bit about it to give those that have been attending for the first time a more in-depth or more background in terms of the software. And also it just gives you like a perspective in terms of what you can do with the software. So we're going to look at Infraworks, exactly what it is. A lot of people have it in their AEC collections, but don't use it. So I'm going to give you a quick background on that. And then I've got a quick snapshot of some of the functionality overviews that appeal to me. Of course, there's many more, but I've just put some of the main ones in there, and we're going to just have a chat about them quickly. Then once the introduction's done, we're going to dive in and do a demo. So I'm going to dive in, open Infraworks, and we're going to have a look at this watershed analysis. Again, this image that you're seeing is actually from my actual model that I've done previously, but we're going to do another one from scratch so you can grasp in terms of how the software actually works. And then, of course, we're going to conclude. So sit back, and then I hope you pay attention. I know it's Friday, but yeah, you're going to see how easy this is actually to wield. So let's get into the first part. So Infraworks, what is it exactly, right? So we're currently on 2019. Believe it or not, from Autodesk in the AEC collection, this is the most updated software that I know. There's an update out every 3 months. There's always new webinars highlighting the functionality overviews, the latest features added. Very, very cool, very, very visual. So if you like gaming, PlayStation, Xbox, whatever you're into, this software is actually as visual as that. And the cool part is you can actually link it in with virtual reality, augmented reality, incorporate 3ds Max, and you can have animations into your model. So it's a really, really cool software, and it is the future. The great part about it is its interoperability as well as its dynamic interface. So a lot of softwares can integrate with this, the two main ones being Civil 3D and Revit, right? So if you've got those two and you've got Infraworks, you can develop a really high detailed fun model and which you can present to the clients or whoever you need to, okay? And then of course, it is a conceptual design tool. However, once you become well versed with the softwares, be it Civil 3D or Revit and the integration with Infraworks, you can actually turn your conceptual design to the final design, okay? That's why my last point says it's first and last step. So your conceptual design, once you update it, be it in Revit or Civil 3D, you relink it with Infraworks, and then from there, it becomes as detailed as your detailed design in Infraworks or Revit. I mean Revit or Civil 3D, sorry. Right, so it's a very, very cool software. And now with the whole GIS integration, if you haven't heard about it, there's a ArcGIS integrator or connector that's built into Infraworks right now. So if you haven't upgraded or updated your Infraworks, please have a look at your desktop app. There should be a ton of updates there as well. So please look at it. Really, really cool. So the GIS clients, or if you have an ArcGIS account that you can link to, it makes design that much better because you have access to so much of data. So please have a look at it. If you don't have it or you're a bit confused, again, my detail will be up at the end. Drop me an email and then we can help you out there. Okay, in terms of the functionality overview or the capabilities, this is exactly what we have, right? So the model builder is fantastic. I mean, anyone that's used it, it's so easy to use. You just plug in the address or the position of a site, or you can zoom into a place, cap it in terms of the rectangular box or polygon, and then from there it gets processed in the cloud, and then you get an email to say, hey, your model's done, please check it out, download it, save it to your cloud or BIM 360. Another integration that was built in recently was BIM 360 Docs. Really, really nice, where you can upload your model, shade, add comments and stuff like that. Okay, so that was the biggest selling point in terms of Infraworks. But as time progressed, there were a lot of added functionalities. Okay, so road designs, you can get the profile views, the long sections, you can add bridge analysis to it. It's got design codes attached, whether it's LFRD, ASHTO, Eurocode, all of those type of things. And of course, you can create your custom design kits. Currently, they are busy with design country kits. So if you familiar with Civil 3D, we have a country kit for South Africa. Currently, they are busy with different countries, and soon South Africa should come out. So keep your eye up on that. Again, the desktop app, Autodesk desktop app, is brilliant for letting you know when these are available. I am really waiting for it to see what South African styles we have here in South Africa, and then we can apply them to our design. So really, really cool. And then, of course, the block in red is our topic of focus today, watershed analysis. We can have a look at that right now. So yeah, please have a look. And then if there are any questions, like I said, because of time constraints, it's better if you just drop me an email and I can attend to you directly. And then you can have a reference for future contact in the future. So let's get into it. Okay, so here's the fun part. Enough with the introduction for Friday. Let's just jump into Infraworks for a quick demo. So let me just switch my window here very quickly. Just give me a second on that. Okay, so you should be able to see my watershed analysis, my model in Infraworks. So as you can see, really cool for those that are seeing Infraworks for the first time. You should be enjoying this. I mean, we as engineers, be it civil, structural, mechanical, water, wherever you are, we normally give the boring stuff being 2D. At least now we've got some really cool tools that are not only intuitive, but very visual in appearance to present to those that are non-technical, okay? So I've already generated my model, again, simply by typing in the address, zooming to a place, capping it or cropping it to the area in focus, clicking OK, adding a project group, and then from there getting an email from Infraworks saying, okay, cool, your design's done, please download the model, and here we are. Okay, so I just skipped that step. I have previous webinars that go through how Model Builder is used. So if you, like I said, follow me on LinkedIn, or if you have access to our webinar page or YouTube page on for Baker Baines, please have a look there. It's all up there. Okay, so this is the model that I've done. Okay, and the reason being is if you look at the topography, it's not really defined. So normally I've looked at watershed analysis done by some of my colleagues, and it's normally for like ridges or valleys that are very easy to actually define. So if you look at it on maybe Google Earth or something like that, you yourself can define the extent of the catchment, right? But what if the topography is very often very mild nature or medium nature, like what you're seeing right now? It's very hard to actually check the slope, where it's more or less a concave, where the water is actually going to be draining to. It's very hard, right? So you can see here, I've taken a challenging model for the same reason. So I hope you appreciate that. So this is going to actually help us to define that actual catchment. And then from there, I'm going to show you in terms of rainfall data, how you can input that to get a flow. Okay, so now that we have our model, you can see that we've got different tools up here. Okay, so you've got roads, you've got bridges, and then you've got drainage or stormwater, and that's the tools that we are going to be using. So before we get into that, I'm going to show you where we're going to actually calculate a catchment from. So I've created a bridge or road. So let's just snap to there very quickly. As you can see, that's my bridge. Yay, okay. We've got a bridge there, and what we want to do is we want to create a catchment or a point of flow or a central point or epicenter, whatever you want to call it in engineering. And we want to calculate or define the catchment, the contributing area to that point. So I'm going to use this as a reference, okay? And it's going to help us to actually added a bonus part of here is where we're going to size a drainage or automatically place a road drainage depending on our flows. Okay, so that's a really cool thing. Right, so this is what we're going to do. All we're going to do is we're going to go to the drainage tools. We're going to check out the design features, right? And I'm going to show you in terms of rainfall content first. So let's go and look at what we have available to us already straight off the bat from the software. So as you can see, these are the default tools that come for us. One of them are actually based for the European standards, but the one that we can actually use is called a tabular sample. So let's have a look at that. You can see here we've got our intensity tables in terms of our storm durations. So 5, 15, 30, and 60 at the moment. Again, you can edit this. Right, so this is currently set for a 1 in 10 year storm, 1 in 25, 1 in 50, and the one that we currently have selected is 1:10. We can change it to 1:25, 1:5. You can see that it plots those graphs according to what we need. We can have them run simultaneously for 3, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to leave it for 1:10, and then of course you can select use it as a default. And again, if you have this data from your weather service or wherever you get this rainfall data from, you can actually go and edit this table. So this is just a default one that's used. Again, you can say create copy, like what I've done here already. So created a copy, and then we can go and edit that. So let's go and look at that. So this is the copy of the actual rainfall data that I'm going to be using. Okay, again, you can go and edit it here, fully editable. And then if you want to export this, you can. So you can see on the top here, there's an export function. All right, so let's export it so I can show you how it looks. So once you export it, you can see the the format is actually CSV. We're all familiar with it. So let's give it a name, Watershed demo. Right, and then I'm gonna just save it to my desktop so it's easy to find. Okay. So once you've got that, I'm just gonna maneuver to my desktop quickly. So let's just minimize that quickly. All right, should see my desktop. And now you can see there's the Watershed demo file here. Okay, so let me just switch my window for you so you can see. Okay, so that's the Excel file that you're currently looking at. Okay, so as you can see, once you export it, if you can import it into or copy and paste it into a report to show that, hey, this is the actual design period that we used. And then, of course, you can give it a name. Again, this is just a title. You can change it to whatever precipitation, so whatever meters, whatever format you want to. In terms of precipitation intensity, so your I think it's PT over R. And then, of course, you can give your project area name, location, and station. So if it's along a road, you can actually put in the road chainage, your station name in there, and you can actually export this, right? Again, you can edit this. You can even change this data. So if you want other duration times here, however, if you look at design, these are more or less sufficient. You can add them in here, save them, and then once you go back to the software, so let me switch back to Infraworks. Once you go back to the software, you can actually import that file and use it once the edits have been updated. So really, really cool. Okay, so if you can get your hands on that data, be it from the weather service, stats, or whoever you use here in South Africa, normally get it from the weather service or stats, they help a lot. But of course, we all have our own avenues of information that's relative and reliable. Bring that in, and then from there you can model that. So I'm going to use this one, all right, the tabular one. I use it as a default. You can see it's set up to a default. I'm happy with what I see and click OK. So that's done, right? So that's the first step. We got our rainfall done and dusted. I'm going to close that on the side. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go actually create a catchment. So that's the fun part. Okay. So we go to our modified design tools. You can see I'm just going to take you an overview here. These are more or less design data for the drainage, but you can see the main button here is actually called Create Watershed. So that's the one we're going to use, right? A lot of people are not familiar with this, but due to cloud computing, it has saved our computers, meaning that you don't have to have a supercomputer anymore that gets hit with, that has to be highly spec'd, good hardware, good storage, that type of thing. We're going to be using the cloud to do the hard work, and then we're going to get the results from there. Okay, so some of the cloud features use cloud credits. If you don't know what cloud credits are, if you just go into the AKN network, so Autodesk Knowledge Network, or if you drop me an email, I can send you information. It's basically credits that you would use that are relatively cheap to access the cloud services. Okay, so I'm going to click OK. And you can see now it's actually highlighted my road. So it's very intelligent in the sense that it picks up the infrastructure, but I'm going to drop it maybe somewhere here. So you're going to drop a pin. Everyone see the pin here, right? Once you got that, I'm going to hit enter. Okay, and now it's going to be preparing. Now, depending on the size of the model, it can take a slightly bit longer. So this model is more or less a very good size to test out. So let's see how long it's going to take, because like I said, it's live. A lot of demos, we try not to do it live when it uses internet because anything can happen. You've got a lot of people streaming, but I thought I'll take the risk, right? So let's see, it's getting generated at the moment. So let's have a look here, and yep, it's done. Okay. So currently the service is free, so you can see it took 0 cloud credits for this catchment. So yay, right for now. But let's zoom out and have a look. So look at that. How nice is that? How nice is that? So if those in consulting, well, like how I used to do this before, go onto Google Earth, draw a polygon, you know that story. Try and get it as accurate as you can, depending on the slope and the terrain. From there, export it as an image, put it into your report. Then the polygon gives you the area and all of those things. Whereas here, it's actually sized for you. How awesome is this? Right? So once you have this, you can see it's based on the point, and it actually picked up that due to the terrain and topography, this is going to be the contributing area that you will be looking at. So let's have a look at what details are in there. Right? So all I'm going to do is click on the actual watershed that's created, or the catchment area, and you'll see that there is the asset card that pops up on the right, giving you different details. You can see the area is quite a big area, so it is a good model that I did use, right? Those are actually in square meters. I'm not even going to try that, okay? Otherwise, I'm going to fall into our Zuma trap that we had in Parliament. But anyway, that's just a side note. So meter squared, that's the area, that's the average channel slope, and then of course you got your channel length. So if you looked, or if you recall, in terms of rational methods, so your water course length, catchment area, this type of things, this is more or less what it's giving us, and then the high and low points. So the highest point is 1713 meters, and the other one is 1647 meters. So very informative, right? And then of course, the cubic flow or cubic meters per second, you can actually edit it in here if you want to give in your own, right? So it's kind of user defined. So like me, when I was in consulting, I used an Excel sheet, just put in the quick formulas, you know, overland flow or whatever. You get your Q at the end, and then you can actually input it in here. So if you got that already and you're comfortable with using that and it's working, I don't have any problem with it. You can input it here and you can be happy depending on the return period you use. So 1:10, 1:50 years, or 1:100. However, you can go and change into two other options. The one that we can use in South Africa is a rational. Okay, regression is more or less linked to the US side of things, so you can see it gives you states. So don't use that one. Use either user defined or use rational. So rational method is built in here where you can put in your C factor, so your runoff coefficient, you can add it in here. So again, if you use your SAMREL drainage manual or whatever South African legislation you're using, you can actually input that in here, put in your I or your rainfall intensity, okay, and then from there these should be populated, okay. If not, just use user defined where you can have full access to this and it will be populated according to what you'd like, okay, and we can take it in from there. Okay, so now that we have that, we've got our catchment area. Let's see how we can size our drainage, right? So this is the final component that I want to look at. So let's switch back to where our bridge is. Here we go. Right, so the quick bridge here, and of course it's going to include the entire road, right? So if you zoom into my model, or if you have a look here, I've actually got grading in here, right? So of course you have to raise the platform, or you raise the road finish level so that the bridge can hit an attained finish design level. Okay, so we got that. Now that we have that, we are going to go in and do a quick drainage for the road. Okay. So a lot of people again don't know this functionality. Okay, so you're going to go into the road. Let's select it. Okay, here we go. Right, we got a drainage. Right, zoom in here quickly. Okay, so you can see currently the road is in a component stage. What's the difference between a component or a normal road? Component road is more detailed design, more details can be assigned to it, that type of thing. Whereas a planning road is you can't get any design values and profile, long section and stuff like that. Okay, so what I wanted to highlight here, if you look at this, right, currently when you go to drainage, there should be an option that says, I think, add drainage network, right? If you're getting this option, it's because your road does not have a curb attached to it. Okay, makes sense? So if you don't have a curb inlet along your road, it's not going to size it for you because now you don't have a curb and channel configuration or something like that. So I'm going to show you a different one. So how you solve that is very simple. We can click on a part of the road, so maybe there, and then you'll see that you'll give you an option to update the assembly. Okay, so let's click on the alignment. Let's try and get the click right. Here we go. Okay, so if you look at the asset card, it gives you the lane widths and stuff like that per lane. But what you've got to do is you've got to click on the actual center or the actual road itself. Can be tricky sometimes. Here we go. Now it's selected. You can see it gives me the asset card on the right hand side. But what I can do is road assembly, you can replace it and you can attach a different road assembly to it, right? So how that's done is you can go and select the curb and channel here, one of the components. And then of course you can see as I'm moving in, you can snap it to the end and to the beginning of a road. So I've already done that to save us time because it will take a little time to process. And what we're going to do is we're going to go here. So again, another thing that I'm showcasing to you here is that Infraworks, you can create multiple design scenarios in one model. So that's exactly what I did here. Okay, so now if you see here, if I go to my road, right click, drainage, I'll add drainage network. So once you click that, right, so I'm going to click that, and you're going to see that this asset card appears. So if you've been using or creating 3 different Infraworks models to convey 3 different designs, please don't do it that way. We've got an option on the top here where we can create copies from the master drawing and then do 3 or 4 or as many alternatives as you like using one model. Okay, so again here you can see you can specify in terms of what road you want to use. You can give your drainage network a name. Let's give it a Watershed demo. Okay, we give it a name. You can gives you the total selection of the road. So that's the length of my road, so about almost 2.5 kilometers. And then of course you can go and customize the type of structures and inlets that you can use for your design. So this is the whole list there that you can assign. I'm going to use the default for now. It gives you the dimensions. You can edit the sump depth, the spacing, those type of things, fully editable. You can see here. All right. And then of course it's the same thing for the actual manholes. So the manholes can be edited. Again, this is the infrastructure part builder that's built into Infraworks, and it can be accessed also with Civil 3D. Okay, a lot of people don't know that because it's slightly bit more complicated in Civil 3D, but it's exactly more or less the same thing. That's why Infraworks is really cool, because it's more 3D visual compared to the detailed design packages being Civil 3D and Revit. Okay, so we've got that. I'm gonna just keep this as default, again, fully editable. All of this is in here. And yeah, from there, once we've got the drainage network, we're happy with what I'll see. Just a word of advice. If you're using this, once you make any changes, don't click enter, because once you click enter, it will go automatically to size the inlet. You just click somewhere else on the asset card. So please don't click enter. So once I edit this, don't click enter, click maybe somewhere there, and then it'll go off. Because once you hit enter, it's going to take you into and do something else, right? So, right, we got that watershed demo. We're happy with what we see. Now we can hit enter, and it's going to generate the drainage network. So let's give it a few seconds. So again, this will only work if you have an assembly that has a curb and channel or a curbing where it will make sense. If you just have a road there with 2 lanes, it's not going to work because the software does not pick up the channel. So it's also foolproof design, if I can put it that way. Okay, and it makes us check our work, and it also shows that the software has intelligent features. And this is a lot of intelligent features, especially for a conceptual design tool. So once we have that done, okay, so it's done, the notification will go away. Damn, you're really tongue-tied today. But let's zoom in and have a look, right? So what the software does is, I've got a 4-lane here, right? So you can see it's got a median, or it's got a concrete barrier in the center just to separate, but it placed these inlets for me automatically. So let's have a look, right? Again, if I click on any of the inlets, it gives me all of this. It gives me the flows even. See, design flow is 0.02 cubic meters per second. Again, I can go and edit this. I can go change these structures, whatever I like it. The model update automatically. The cool thing is the tributary area, right? So I don't know if you guys, how you normally do it, but we'll have to normally get this by ourselves, either by using a map or breaking the road up into sections. Whereas here, you can actually get the tributary area, contributing area per inlet, right? So you can see, let me just get a selection on here. Let's select on that. And then of course the tributary area is that much. If you feel it's a bit too much or it's too little, you can increase that value and this will update, right? You can see the concentration is currently set to 15 minutes, your TC, and all of these are fully editable and relatable to the rainfall data that we currently did, okay? Bonus with this functionality is we can go underground. We can also move this, right? So as you can see, I've just moved it and updated, right? Of course, there is an undo button, so don't feel afraid to do anything, right? It gives you the number of the inlet, also which part you're using, that type of thing. And you can use the toggles or the grips to actually do whatever you need. Now let's go underground, see what's happening, right? Here we go. So you can actually view the pipe network underground, which is I like my specialty is mostly on the road design part of things. When it comes to inlet positioning, especially for site, it can be difficult. Whereas here you can actually view it in 3D. And then of course, doesn't only apply to the inlets, but also applies to the piping. You can go and change the type of material. However, for stormwater, we normally use concrete. But in terms of other things, you can go and customize it, HDPE, all of those things. Again, the sizes also you can go and customize. Everything is fully editable here. And the cool thing is it gives you your start inlet and your end inlet. Then of course you can export this to Civil 3D and it will be in there for detailed design further. Once you're done with that, you can import it back in here, update your final conceptual model and carry on. So again, that's more or less where I'm going to conclude. again, you can see how effective this tool is, how simple it is in nature. I mean, normally watersheds, you have to go and try and, I would call it, it's called a finder rule, where this is what you think will be the contributory area for your catchment, whereas here it's automated in so many ways, so built-in intelligence with the software, and it's really cool to present in terms of your water department or your designers as a whole, and you can actually go and customize this accordingly. So yeah, that's more or less the watershed for my webinar. That's the content I want to cover. Just gonna switch back to my presentation just to give you conclusion points, and then yeah, we can wrap it up for Friday. So let me just switch my window. Give me a second. Okay, so here we are. Right, so that's a conclusive summary. If you look at it, you saw how simple it was, honestly, right? You can create rainfall content, you can bring it in, you can edit it, bring it back. You can add in your own factors if you want to be more conservative, which we are normally when it comes to water. You can fully edit it, put it in, and then you can generate your flows from there. You can manipulate it, like I said. You can export. And then, of course, it's as simple as using the drainage tools in Infraworks. You harness cloud computing to actually derive the extent of the catchment, very accurate. And then, of course, this leads to sustainable design. Okay, so sustainable design, more innovative design, more intelligent based design that we want to generate better infrastructure. And of course, it's a live model generation, so it happens in front of you. Doesn't take a lot of time. Processing time is cut because of cloud computing. And yeah, you can go and view your pipe networks underground, have a look at it, change it, edit it, and it could update instantaneously. So really, really cool, very simple, very helpful as well. So I hope you liked the webinar. In terms of our contact details, this is us Baker Paints. We're very, very active on social media. So those are all our handles. If you want to get in contact with us, and of course, if you want any information regarding the software, pricing, training, those type of things, drop us an email at info@bakerpaints.com. Alternatively, reach out to me directly, Shuaib Yunus. Right, I am very vocal on LinkedIn. A lot of these posts go up on LinkedIn. Getting people, again, it's free. So if you have colleagues that you think that will be benefit, by all means, share this post with them. The recording is going to go up to our YouTube channel later on by this afternoon. I will share it as an article on my LinkedIn. So please share it. Knowledge is power. And as a designer, I love what I do, and I want all of us to love what we do, right? Make design much more easier, much more fun to do. And this is my way of reaching out to you. So again, if you have any future topics, please drop us an email, shuaib@bakerpaints.com. In fact, send it to me directly. If you have me on LinkedIn, drop me a message on there, and we can actually include it on our roster for this year. So we like hearing from you, and of course, if the webinar has helped you, please send us an email so we know actually it is helping people out there and people are learning a lot. So again, thank you very much. Again, I'm very chuffed with the 100% attendance. I hope you have a great weekend, great Friday. And then, yeah, I'm going to have another webinar next Friday, believe it or not, on road corridor rendering. So Civil 3D users, if you are using Civil 3D, please tune into that. We're going to just be showing the users in terms of how you can make a design more visual in Civil 3D if you're not using Infraworks yet. You will come to the conclusion that it's way more easier to use Infraworks, but for those that are stuck in Civil 3D, I am covering it especially for them. So if you know anyone that's been doing that, or by all means using AutoCAD as a road design tool, which I pray people aren't, but if you know them, if you've got a colleague, you've got a friend, you know someone, please send them this link. It's going to help them a lot and save them a lot of time. So yeah, that's next week Friday. I'm going to make the post maybe Monday or Tuesday next week, and then we're going to take it from there. So again, thank you very much. Have a great Friday, and yeah, see you next week.